I feel the need to explain my music playlist since I really don't plan on deleting any music, but who knows? Who knows? I feel like, well, beyond explaining my music playlist, I guess the main thing I want to talk about is how to use music and tones in a productive and constructive way. In my opinion, well, I'll tell you what I do. I listen for, well, I pay attention to how I feel when I listen to a particular thing as far as the tones, the melodies. Do the tones and the melodies seem um, emotionally healthy for me at that time? Do they feel overall good? Does the music sound overall good and make me feel overall good? Does it make me feel overall bad? What about the content? What are they saying? Is it something that I can agree with, and to what degree? Would you allow your child or your children to listen to it and to listen and to pay attention to that content? Would it be okay if they were left alone to listen to what it is you're listening to? I guess I say that to say, I mean, we all have a type of inner child within us. And if you don't believe that particular music you're listening to is good enough for children to listen to, then it may not be good enough for you to listen to. A lot of what they call adult, or what's labeled for adults, sadly, a lot of this stuff it's not even suitable for adults. Or adults shouldn't even be putting it in their psyche. They shouldn't be putting it anywhere near their consciousness, in my opinion. Or I'll say, at the very least, it's risky. It's it's risky, and you should be aware that it's risky. You should be aware that maybe if you listen to a particular type of music, it can make you overly aggressive, or maybe it might make you discriminative. Like, for example, you're listening to music which objectifies women in a negative light, as far as like it's promoting them as uh, like that's their value, or that's their main values, to be objects of uh, sexual gratification. If you're listening to something that promotes that, that can, I mean, that will have an effect on your interactions with people. And I mean, it's going to affect your thought process, period. Anything we put in ourselves, it affects us. Or you should expect it to affect you in some way. what happens in Vegas does not stay in Vegas. We take it with us. You take the memories with you. You take that appetite with you. Or I'll phrase it this way: whatever changes occurred within you while you did that particular thing or while you were doing that particular thing, you take that with you. So I guess I'm making this video almost as a disclaimer because I feel like, I'm supposed to. I feel like any decent person nowadays should look at themselves as an example for somebody and know that people are paying attention to how you do things. And I remember it reminds me of there's so many times I think I've seen people out in the street or they've seen me, and it's like if you're not at your best, that affects others, and that can affect you too. Well, it affects you and it affects others. Maybe people are looking up to you, and then they don't see you at they see you in a bad light because of something that happened, and maybe that was the cause of possible depression, or maybe for them to give up because they believe you gave up, and you're like their role model, their hero, or whatever, their elder, and you gave up. So if you can give up, why is it so bad that they give up? I've experienced that a couple of times from both ends. I won't say to that extreme of like I'm just going to throw up my hands and give up, but it does something to you when people you care about aren't doing well, or they're engaging in behaviors which may not be like the most admirable. So I guess I'm saying, observe my content at your own risk. Scrutinize, analyze, argue, debate. I know music, I guess I'm talking about music, or I was talking about music in particular because it can have a very powerful effect on us. It's a type of, it seems like it's a type of worship, or a type of, uh, like it's connected to, I don't know, like some type of, I don't know, like a celebration within us. I don't know how to really describe it. Or it can, depending on what you're listening to, it can be depressing and sad and I guess I'm saying all this because I don't know. I just don't want to I don't want to feel responsible. We're too responsible for promoting things which may um, feel like they're harmful. So if I'm playing some music and it may have, let's say, uh, some sexual overtones or something like that, maybe I don't believe everything that is being said in that song. Maybe that song reminds me of better times. Like there's a lot of music that I listen to. It just reminds me of better times, and when I listen to it, it can take me to a better place, or what feels like a better place, and then I try to like capture that emotional tone or that feeling, and I try to pull it into my present reality and merge that somehow with my present reality for the purposes of, um, I guess you could say, like, I don't know, well, I'm making it, like I'm, like, I don't know, like repurposing the music and making it like something medicinal and therapeutic, and um, allowing it to help me grow as a person. And I also want to, I also try to work on my independence from music or from certain types of music. You might ask, how would somebody do something like that? I feel like the best way to, well, I'll describe it this way. I think about how I feel when I listen to a particular thing, and I think about whether or not that feeling is good or beneficial. And then I think about practical reasons for me to feel that way in everyday life. Like I try to see if I can sell myself on feeling like I'm already at the beach, listening to the ocean waves, listening to the seagulls, smelling that ocean air, mostly by myself. There may be people off in the distance. The sun is setting. All those feelings, I try to figure out how, like when I think about how I feel or how I felt, like being at the beach. The beach I have in mind in particular is like Venice Beach, or um, I've got the other beach, well, mainly Venice, but I remember on quite a few occasions I've been to the beach, and when the sun starts to set, it's like people start just like stopping in their tracks and just stand there looking at the sunset, all different races, and it's like it just looks, and I don't know, it's like everybody has decided to engage in a type of worship. So I think about that, and I think about how I felt during those times, and I try to, since I can't be at the beach every day, or since I choose not to be at the beach every day, but I still want that feeling, I try to sell myself on how I can feel that way in my daily life, period. I guess it's like giving myself an emotional workout or spiritual workout. And the more you do it, the stronger it becomes. So this is why I feel like, well, see, I don't want to go too far off into other subjects, which I often do, but I feel like this is the solution to overcoming many problems, or many, as far as addictions and compulsive behaviors. There's something in that behavior which gives you some type of relief. So if you can figure out why you do that thing and what it's providing and how you can feel that way or better all on your own, or just from your own thought process and your own values, you can gain independence from it. So when I talk about repurposing music and using it as a tool for therapy, or like making it medicinal, that's what I'm talking about. So that's how that's how I use music, and I feel like other people, and it goes beyond, it goes beyond music. I think this goes for any type of content. And what's kind of maybe scary, or might be somewhat scary for a lot of people to maybe consider, is I think maybe this, I think we should also think about the people that we love and the people that we like. Because to some degree, the people that we love and we like are also therapeutic, or can be therapeutic, or they can be maybe toxic, or not overall beneficial. So I feel like we should question whether or not we can. I know, well, since we're talking about people, that makes it more complicated, because a person has feelings. A person is not a an album, but a person is still a source of a relationship. That is still a source of pain and pleasure. And I think it's healthy to analyze what we get from our relationships. Why do we like this particular person? Why do we love this particular person? Why do they like us? What do they get from us? Because I feel like, to some degree, we should have some type of independence also from our loved ones. That's a topic for another date. And that's a complicated one that I can't say I have too many answers for, but I'll say, we change our personalities and our values and our forms. And if you're reliant on a particular value or personality or form of someone, and they change it, that creates a problem for you, a problem that you have to figure out and develop some type of solution. Like just like a person dying, a person you love, and they die. What do you do? What do we do? Or you break up from a relationship. What do you do afterwards? How do you get what you need now? How do you get your needs met? When I talk about independence, I'm not necessarily saying like total separation, but just, we can love people from a distance, or our love changes. We can love people differently. We can love our society. We can love humanity if we choose to. And this is difficult, or this can be very, very difficult depending on what you're going through. If you're in a war zone and somebody's talking about loving society and loving humanity, that might seem very difficult to swallow. But we need peace, don't we? We need some degree of peace and enjoyment. And how are you going to get any degree of peace and enjoyment if the world as you know it is just filled with nothing but predators and prey? And well, let me rephrase that. I think the world is filled with predators and prey, but I believe we can also change. The world also has saviors, or people who rescue and make better. The world has rescuers. The world has people who step outside of the box, and they choose maybe not to slaughter the animals for food, but make them as pets. Or they're trying to slaughter the animals and a civil. I don't even know how to really finish that one. I'm sorry. Because the word slaughter and civil doesn't seem to go well. Putting down, I guess, sounds better, which I guess is why they came up with that phrasing. There are let's just say there are nice ways of killing animals for food. And there are cruel ways, unnecessarily cruel ways of killing animals for food. I'm just using that as an example. You have people out here who are working on trying to make people behave more. Well, they're trying to get people to behave with more kindness as it relates to the animals. And then you have people out here who really don't care at all. And that's life. So we have to try to figure out how to keep peace in our hearts, knowing that both of these personalities exist, both of these values exist. So again, to backtrack, as far as the music and, for that matter, content, analyze how it makes you feel, analyze whether or not it's overall good or bad, question what you disagree with and what you agree with, and try to remember that you can feel that way all on your own. You can become independent of the music. You can keep that tone inside of you, the way that music or that content made you feel. You can keep that inside of you. You can develop that on your own, or you can develop like an internal how can I say it? I was going to say internal playlist, but I want to say, I mean, I think you all know what I'm trying to say. We can. I'll end it with this question. Well, imagine someone that you love. How much of that love is the way you feel about them causing you to feel a certain way, and how much of that love or that feeling is based on actually feeling something which is coming from them, like a projection, like the sun shining on you. That's a question we should all ask. I feel like it's a little of both. Well, I feel like it can be a combination of both, and to what degree, who knows? It's possible that somebody loving you might spiritually and physiologically be responsible for you being alive. It's also possible that the feeling of a particular person, the knowledge of a particular person's existence, relaxes you and allows you to feel what is already there, which some might call God the Father, or God, or the ether. Some may call it stillness. I think I lean more towards the latter, but I also feel that we do get something from one another. So it's maybe they're one and the same, or maybe I feel like it's all connected. Someone's love can be keeping you alive indirectly, as well as, or your love for them might be keeping them alive indirectly. And as far as love, or what love is, all love is might be us allowing ourselves to be open to the source of all creation. What I mean by that is, like, imagine if you're in a bubble, and outside of that bubble, all around you is love. But you can't feel that love unless there's a hole in that bubble, or there's some type of opening in that bubble. A part of me feels like what we call love, like when we say I love someone, what we're actually feeling is our guards lowering, or some of that bubble being exposed. Maybe there's a hole in it, or there's let's say a door, and you open and close that door for certain people or for certain things. And every time you open that door to connect with someone or something that you love, or that you feel like you want to leave yourself vulnerable for, that love comes in. Like, the love is automatic because it's everywhere. Like, imagine if you were in a submarine, and a submarine in the ocean, and there's a crack in that submarine and water gets in. That may be a bad example because, a person is at risk of dying. So, but I guess I'm trying to create an image of what I'm saying. Like, imagine if the ocean was just, imagine if you were some type of aquatic creature, and you were in a submarine in the ocean, and every time you see a particular aquatic creature, or maybe some beautiful looking coral or whatever, you you open that vessel you're in, and the water comes in, you wouldn't. Um, yeah, I know it's not the best example, but I hope you all get what I'm saying. Like this is a theory I've been holding on to for a while, and I definitely believe it's true that we could all be like let's say like our creator is the ocean, and we're all just like aquatic creatures, or we're partially aquatic, or we have the capabilities of being aquatic, but we either don't know, or maybe don't care. But if we became aquatic, we can be free I mean, we could just be in the ocean. We wouldn't even need. So I'm going to try to salvage what I've been saying, just in case anybody is confused. Like when they talk about, like when you've heard stories, if you've heard stories of ascended masters, let's say like um, uh, Jesus, or some of there are certain people I won't mention. People are very sensitive about comparing anybody to Jesus, so I won't do that, I guess. But I'm saying my theory and my belief, which I believe very strongly actually, is that an ascended master, or somebody who is considered an ascended master, or like a fully enlightened being, a being which I guess can overcome death, is someone who is so connected to life, or so connected to existence, that it's like they didn't. I guess what I'm saying, it's almost like it's impossible for them to die. Like it would be impossible. It would be as impossible for them to die as uh, the ocean to dry up, because they've connected, or like they've become one with the ocean, where them and the ocean are like one and the same. Remember when I compared ourselves to aquatic creatures in the ocean? I also have a suspicion that, like, I'd like to know, I'd like somebody's opinion, or maybe if I can remember, I'll look into why fish seem to get bigger if they're in bigger containers. Like a goldfish in a bowl, in a fish bowl is only going to stay a certain size, but a goldfish in the ocean can become as big as a fish bowl. Like I'm curious, like how much of that has to do with the weight or the pressure of what's around you, and how much of that has to do with the consciousness of the fish. I suspect that a lot of it has to do with the consciousness of the fish. Like maybe the fish, because it's in a bigger space, it has bigger limits, where it has higher values to, well, it has a bigger outlook as far as like it knows there are much bigger things out here, and because of that, like, well, it doesn't even know. It may not even have a what. I think you all know what I'm trying to say. I feel like it's almost like if you're a big person, like being a small person in a small town. I mean, you may not even know. Would you even know that you're a small person? Would you see yourself as a small person in a small town, or would you see yourself as, like, how would you see yourself if you're in a big city coming from a small town? How would you see yourself afterwards? So anyway, I'm sorry if I went too far there for anybody, but I guess what I'm saying is I feel like the masters allowed themselves, well, they exposed themselves to raw creation, or the raw source of creation, which connected them to that, making death impossible, or at least death as we know it. See, that opens up quite a few doors to go through. Like, I've always questioned, like, why haven't any of these masters well, according to the Bible, people used to live like for 300 years, 400 years, 500 years, 600 years, 700 years, 800 years, I think. And this is a question that I remember this question. And I keep this question in mind because it's an interesting question. The first person who brought this question to my attention was Prophet Montgomery Garnett, or Montgomery Garnett. I think he very well might be a prophet, but I remember he that's something he told me he didn't know the answer to. I remember that because he seemed to have a whole lot of answers, but he didn't have the answer to that, and he was curious about that, and it is something to be curious about. What happened? What occurred? If I mean, well, if the Bible is accurate as far as people living to be 5, 6, 700 years, what happened? My theory about what happened is, well, first of all, I should say, I believe in China, they have a pretty well documented record of a man living to be 250 years old. Like, there's some sufficient evidence that this man actually lived to be 256 or something years old. And according to that man, he told somebody that he met somebody that was older than him. So, anyway, going back to what I was going to say, my theory about why, well, if people live to be that old, which I have a feeling they did, or it's possible, I strongly believe it's because I strongly feel like we stopped living that long because our consciousness um, became weaker, and our consciousness, well, because our sorry, because our awareness of life, well, as our awareness of life as beings maybe became more limited, or more, or let's say less intuitive, like 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 we severed the connection between us and creation. Like, we started um, gradually severing connections. Kind of like a wire. Like when when the wire gets damaged, and the electricity becomes it's like more difficult for electricity to flow through the wire because of the damage. So the depending on the device, you may get limited power or you may get none. I kind of feel like um, the behaviors or the values maybe that human beings started to engage in and strengthen were contrary to the values of creation. The values of creation. Let me say that differently. I don't like the sound of that. I think maybe I want to say laws of creation, or laws of. Anyway, okay, I'll say it this way. The same way maybe a fish gets bigger because it's in the ocean. I feel like our spirits get stronger the more we're connected to creation. Like the more we're in real time, in the present, mentally and emotionally here, the stronger our life force is, because that's what makes us. Well, that's that's what's keeping us alive, or part of what is keeping us alive. Like that's where life came from, I guess is what I'm saying. Like I feel like when you rest, what's causing you to rest, or what's causing you to recharge your batteries, is allowing, well, to some degree, allowing the body to relax. And by relaxing, it's closest to its, well, the spirit and the body are closest, yeah, closest. Our spirit and our body are closest to um, our most natural state, like our original state of being. So when you rest, it's almost like you're allowing yourself to be like a baby in the womb of God or creation. So anyway, wow, I feel very strange talking about this. I feel like, I don't know, like I'm close to a breakthrough of some sort. So I guess imagine like if an aquatic creature was in the ocean, and it had, let's say, the consciousness or the awareness to maybe not place limits on itself as far as what it can be and what it can do and how big it can get. how small it can get. What type of being would that be? Or what might be the potential? Well, I hope you know where I'm going. I'm 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 saying, wow, just thinking about this is really, I feel like something, like I'm changing